So hey, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers on the Super Nintendo is a thing, and it's pretty decent. Its most defining characteristics are being very easy and only mildly challenging at the best of times, so let's talk about exactly why that is. The first thing that always comes to mind when I remember this game is that it really rewards you for being aggressive with the enemies. You rarely have to think out any situation you approach, and even when they introduce something like hazards, you just kinda have to play along to get anything out of them, like, oh, that's cute, there's lasers on the wall, I guess I'll pretend that does something. Aside from a few key sections that seem almost unintentional, the damage you take is insignificant, and it's perfect for kids because I beat it as a kid and all you have to do is smash the Y button the whole time for the most part. You may get slightly more out of it if you approach the situations with a little bit of thought, but you could still easily get through the game without paying any attention at all. The lack of difficulty is only made more apparent by the plethora of health pickups which stack between stages even when you switch rangers, so you can actually extend your health bar beyond the screen, so much so that it changes colors. So what you have in the basic combat with normal enemies is pretty mindless. Strategy is only slightly rewarded in the fact that you take less damage, but you're not going to die either way. The real icing on the cake is that the second half of each level is even easier because that's when you transform into your Power Ranger mode, and then your range increases significantly, which was really the only thing even remotely holding you back. So yes, you can entirely curb stomp the main game with very few exceptions, but what about the boss fights and stuff? Well, the boss fights are an immensely mixed bag. Some of them encourage you to be aggressive, as you're seeing right here. I'm completely wrecking this guy just by being on his ass the whole time, but sometimes they ask you to play a weird waiting game. There's at least two bosses which have significant invincibility frames while they teleport, and you can only strike them for the brief period they are actually visible again. There's nothing technically wrong with these boss fights, and you do have to learn their patterns if you actually want to win, because being aggressive does not work at all here, but at the same time, that's very counter to the design of the rest of the game. There is one particular boss I dislike which does not want you to be aggressive, but also does not have significant invincibility frames, so you can just tank every hit that comes your way and smack him non-stop. Sure, you'll take a lot of damage, but you'll still win in the end, just like most of the rest of the game. The bosses are still definitely the highlight of the game because they're really the only consistently difficult thing about it, and some of them are really fun. But they also discourage that same aggression that you've gotten used to through the rest of the game, because the rest of it is such a piece of cake. That's not to say the bosses are difficult by normal standards, they're just slightly more difficult than the rest of the game. So is there really anything about the design to recommend or praise here? Not really. But the game as a whole is inoffensive, if that's what you're looking for. Can easily be polished off in a third of an afternoon. Not a lot to worry about with it. If you're looking for something interesting to play, then God no, but if you just want to beat up a video game to feel better about yourself, then Power Rangers for the Super Nintendo is here for you.